I agree in terms of positive tones create positive vibrations and all of that. I think one thing that I've noticed, and especially with pop music, is that I think that not just the scales that we're using, but the message that's behind it. If there's our words, because
corrupting the children, and it's just like, in this world we're literally in a spiritual war, and it's not a fight between good and evil. It's the fact that evil has been dressed up and made to feel that it, like Satan and the devil, or C.S. Lewis wrote a book. It was Letters to the Devil's Nephew, and basically in it he says that the greatest deception was to make people think that the devil wore red spandex and had a tail and horns. And if they can make it so that evil is dressed up as something that it's not, and then they can slide that in. It's just like, if you have 90% truth in something and there's 10% mistruth, but you don't know how to figure out or discern because we haven't been taught how to actually use the teacher our soul hired ahead of time, which is the intuition, to discern that information, the 90% doesn't matter, because ultimately the 10% corrupts it. So I feel like with everything that's going on right now, and with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and the Sustainability Act and the Georgian Guidestones, all of which are revolving around the depopulation of the planet and the dumbing down of our kids and their education system, and then getting them to become desensitized with all of the training, with the programming of not just the propaganda on TV, but also in the video games, and killing people and making a target that doesn't mean anything ultimately easier to then turn into a real person that does, but doesn't, because it's the order that the soldier takes in order to kill and complete their task. It's like, I feel that with everything that we're all experiencing, there's so much corruption right now that ultimately, if we don't choose to dream a new dream together and say, okay, yes, that's their agenda, and that's been the agenda that they've had for as long as, like, they basically, what's playing out right now from my understanding is the Nazis' backup plan in case they didn't win World War II. And so everything that's been going on, all the pollutions in the environment, in our food supply, in our toxic culture, that whole...
But it came back for a reason, and it came back for the reason and purpose of healing and helping people to find healing and expression. And so this is what I'm doing. And this is a project that I want to invite you all to be a part of, and to contribute to, and to be part of what lifts and builds the world. And so I would love to work more with Janine, to work more with Mira, to work more with Nessa, to get everybody working together, to just, whether it's with our own producers or wherever we're doing our own albums, our own singles, I want to create a label, a mark, a way people can know that we're all part of this movement to lift and to heal and to build the world, to get away from the depressive, the destructive course. And it seems like a planned destructive course that has driven so much of what we know as the music industry for so long. I think what we can do is use our individual talents and abilities to lift and to build. And so that's what I'm here for, and that's kind of why I called the whole meeting, and the inspiration from Laura to sit down together with all of you, to table this discussions, to bring our lights together and say, hey, let's do this.
I think it's absolutely a wonderful idea to unite that light, and we all have that idea of finding your way, being positive and expressing that. But I do feel like we have to be careful with this, because there is such a thing as toxic positivity.
Yes.
I have felt that so many times in my life, where I was like, I'm only going to release positive songs, I'm only going to be positive, and that is not how it works. I feel like sad songs and minor songs have a place, and they are very needed, and we need to allow ourselves to go through those phases of our lives too.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I wanted to say before. I don't feel like we should be talking about positive or negative songs. We should be talking about honest and authentic songs, and
Right.
this and unauthentic songs, because there are very honest negative songs, you couldn't call them positive, that have basically saved my life, and there are very positive songs that are not authentic and that are very damaging. So I would
Yes.
make the distinction for sure if we're going to go
Luna,
to
that is brilliant. That is brilliant and absolutely necessary for this conversation. That is brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. That is perfect.
That's on my tip of my tongue, like for all the time. I was like, oh, okay.
Getting back to the TV and film, because I'm knee deep in that, guys. I'm on calls with music supervisors and music directors several times a week with the record companies, you too, Luna. And truly, during this quarantine season, what are people doing more of? They're watching TV, they're playing video games, right? It's increased exponentially. And so they are asking for, that's the first thing on their list, is they want authentic music. And they're not even as concerned about the genre, you know, because genres are so skewed nowadays. There's like, have you guys heard of the room dark indie bedroom pop? What does that mean, right? So they're not as concerned about the genre. They're concerned about the authenticity and the vibe, the frequency. So getting back to what Rimini was saying, because I just graduated from the Virtual School of Sound, frequency is so important. And that's all like real complicated stuff when you're working your EQ and everything. But like pop music, what they do is they go, shoo, and it's all right here, right? You know, and I used to wonder, like, why do I feel sick? Why am I so angry when I go to these dance clubs? You know, and listening to that, boom, 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 you know, it would make me physically ill. And so it's true about that frequency. They're looking for this vibe. They're looking for a certain feel to the songs, and they're craving this, right? So musicians during this quarantine season, because it put a lot of musicians out of business, right? You know, the ones that were touring, playing live, that's how they made their bread and butter. A lot of songwriters came, and that's why we learned how to record our own music and produce it in our house, you know, because recording studios were closed too. But we're all uniting, and there's a whole slew of musicians out there that are creating stuff now based on what is needed. Okay, so it's like I used to write music as an artist, not bashing this or anything, but I'm a storyteller. So I would write music, you know, about my life story, and it was all, you know, and I wanted to write music that other people liked, but it was all based around me. Where in the TV film, it's whatever they want, right? Whatever is needed out there in the world. And so if us artists collaborate and come together and say, okay, we're going to send that message out there. We're going to make high quality, it's not just in songwriting, radio ready songs that fit within what we're talking about. And that could fit into what you're talking about, Jared, with your project and everything, and with us all collaborating. That's where I can contribute. I know, Luna, you were shaking your head like you were in the TV and film world as well, but I can bring that information to you guys, and we can, so we have that knowledge, because I tell you what, the more, and I'm talking about ads too, you know, a couple of my songs have been placed, and they weren't songs that I normally would write, you know, like they're kind of in a genre that but you know what, they're out there in the world, and it's a positive message, and it's authentic. You know, I say positive, but I really just mean authentic from the heart and soul, you know, saying, hey guys, you know, I love you, you know, kind of thing. So, and you know, the other thing that I wanted to say is it's all about knowledge. So what all of you are saying needs to get out there, because when you don't know what you don't know, how do you make changes? And so I firmly believe, more so this year, there's so many people out there that don't know what they don't know. So how can they make changes? It's like they may feel stuck or negative, but they don't have the information that they need to get them out of that stuck that stuckness, if that's a word.